Hey, we are live as I apparently lost a Braves run line like as this goes to air. Like they were up like 6 runs and then suddenly I got a text of F the Braves. But anyway, it gets real. You are watching Dad's Bet Baseball. I'm Adam Rosenberg with my buddy CJ Slippin' Jimmy. CJ, how you doing? What have you been thinking about this week? What is fueling you other than for me, it's a Braves collapse over the last 2 minutes, but what's kind of
was Brendan Donovan part of that collapse? Because I
let's
had his
see.
total bases in
They
this
led by
one,
4 entering
and
the ninth. I'm going to do this live. They led by 4 entering the ninth, and then literally my Pickett account just like shifted from being like way up to like even. And what happened? How did this happen? This was like 2 seconds ago. Whatever. This is going to be something for another day. This is a wine session for another day. But
yeah, watching my Pickett the last week has been kind of like watching the stock market, and that it's extremely volatile, and some of the projected either profit or how much I'm losing over the course of about 1 or 2 hours every night. So
it's like a fun
I try.
time lapse video of your own doom sometimes.
I've tried so hard to figure out a way to turn it off, and I don't think there is a way. And so for the Pickett people out there, you're causing a lot of mental anxiety and stress for your bettors by having that projected profit feature up there. So
It
just
was
gonna bring that
apparently
up to my
a
therapist next
Contreras
time.
home run with 2 outs, cut it to 1. I have the run line.
Oh, okay. Well, hopefully
Whatever.
Donovan
Okay.
was on base for that one.
Yeah, hopefully Donovan was
Um,
on there. Okay.
man, top
So
of mind for me. I
yeah.
mean, can we talk about the Orioles? Because
Yeah, I would love to talk about the Orioles. I think that there is
okay,
trouble in
good.
Birdland.
Yeah,
So
because and I'll let you riff on this a little bit, but yeah, I mean, if I'm looking at the teams that I want to just, I think it's, obviously, if you're familiar with the show Around the Horn, they always had a segment, buy or sell. I am sell, sell, sell on this team right now because I just, there is a lot of bad juju with this team, and the fact that Grayson Rodriguez is supposedly the ace in waiting, and shoulder, need to go get your shoulder looked at, even though that wasn't initially why we shut you down. And now we have Charlie Morton go on the mound and proceed to give up a football score of 24 runs. Yeah, I think this team is in some deep trouble, and I've got a few other things I want to bring up, but I mean, what are you seeing when you follow, and I mean, this has been a team we've probably been pretty, I think, against the market since about July of last year.
yeah. So and I will say, look, we were also very early to the market on them that year that they won the number 1 seed that took them at 6 when the Rays came out hot. I said, look at this O's team at 16-1 and they're 4 games back. So here's the deal with the Orioles. You can go through the numbers, you can see the splits. Their batting's not bad, their pitching is terrible. But the thing that stands out to me is something that I constantly talk about with Brandon Hyde as their manager, and why I don't think he will be a good manager on any team because of a critical thing that he does that is not good for baseball. The Orioles had 144 different batting order combinations last year. That was 3rd most in the league. They didn't lose a lot of games to man injury. The biggest was the leader was the Tigers with 155, who had injuries all over the place, so they had an excuse. To see something like that in a sport where there are creatures of habit and guys just can't get going. That team should have killed off the Yankees last year, and the Yankees had a
Yep.
7-30 stretch, and the Orioles still lost the division. So that just tells me that there are bigger things that are going on there. You brought up the Charlie Morton stuff. This team doesn't have any pitching. This team doesn't look to buy. There's a lot of problems there. The trouble in Birdland, I think it is time to now start shorting this team in the ways that you can. Specifically, one of the things that I am looking at is over-earned runs on the pitcher who is starting on the team. That is going to become an automatic bet for me every single time.
Yeah, totally. I think also if you're still getting some of the bad teams, or at least what we'd say more of like mid teams, and you can get some really good long run line -1.5 prices. Eventually market will catch up to these guys. But one other thing that I'll bring up is, you know what this team actually statistically is most similar to, Adam? I'm going to give you a guess. Which team since July of last season do you think that this team actually profiles the most similar to?
Phillies.
It would be the Sacramento Athletics.
Oh, really?
Because listen to this, okay? If you go back and look at just from July splits of last season, Athletics, Fangraphs can still say Oakland. Baltimore is 13th in batting WAR. Athletics 14th. 22nd in pitching WAR. Athletics 16th. Right now, this season alone, Baltimore is 19th in batting WAR and 26th in pitching. Athletics are 12th in batting WAR and 22nd in pitching. So I'm just bringing this up to point out that everybody sees the Orioles. They see Gunnar. They see some of the big names like Adley, all of these guys in that lineup. And in reality, this is actually a poor man's version of the Athletics. So if you have the Athletics getting the same prices as Baltimore, you know that the market is caught up.
Wow. There's the deep inside the numbers on it. We have, so for those who are joining, it's Dad's Bet Baseball. We have a pretty packed show. Dane Martinez from FTN Fantasy is going to be here. We're going to talk a little Yankees with him. So CJ, I want to turn it back. You know, we talked about Orioles having pitching problems. One big name that was within their, which was within the entire rotation and in the bullpen, is the fact that Bautista came back. That was supposed to change things, stabilize things. It was a problem last year. But you have another team that you're looking at whose bullpen might have an overblown issue, but has definitely been the talk of the last few days. It's my beloved Philadelphia Phillies, who I cannot be biased. I'm way too biased to discuss. You got some things you want to
your bullpen, can they
get off your chest?
Can they give up a few more here in about the next 20, 30 minutes? Because
I mean, as somebody, you being someone who lives through Edwin Diaz, I shouldn't comment about that bullpen stuff. So
yeah, I mean, look, there are better days ahead for the Mets bullpen when we don't have to rely on Adam Ottavino coming out of there. But I digress. I mean, I think, look, Phillies bullpen got a lot of storylines this past weekend. I know you had some futures in pocket on Romano. I mean, we both liked that move in the offseason for them to get him and thought that was kind of a cheap price to get a quality reliever. I mean, the one
we overloaded on him to lead the league in saves.
We did. But well, let's not dive into that too much. But I'm the one thing that I'll point out is, you know, they're 17th in Sierra. Okay, that's below average, but it's not, you know, bottom of the barrel or bottom, you know, of the league. I'm a little concerned by the K- walk ratio at 16th. If you're a good bullpen, you're going to need to be, for me, in the top 10 in that metric, because my biggest thing with bullpens is you got to K guys and you can't put base runners on. So being 16th in that is actually a little bit more concerning. Obviously, having Jose Alvarado in there as being a guy is still important. I think, though, ultimately where I'm going with this with the Phillies is, one is it's early. So if you're reading a lot into bullpens right now for rest of season, don't do that, because bullpens are the one area of your team that you can pretty easily add and change, and will also throughout the season, you know, start to kind of adjust and meet more into the middle. But I think this is a good time to bring up, Adam, when you and I specifically are looking at when you start factoring in bullpens into your handicap for some of your games, and where in particular, what markets are those applicable to. And for me, I think I'm starting to look at least at bullpens right now as a little bit of that end of the process for when I'm looking at a batter prop, for example.
For a batter prop, you have to do it. So you'll see a lot of folks that'll say, oh yeah, I think so-and-so is going to hit a home run. Cool. You're capping them for 2 at bats. If you're really talking about who the starter is, 3 tops. You know, that's assuming that the person has mid stuff today. Like Aaron Nola, good example, did not have his best stuff. And folks got only 3 at bats. You got to look at that bullpen stats. Baseball Savant obviously does a really good job of this, of having the split of who everybody looks like within that. In terms of products that are out there, I know we always comment on some of the good stuff they're doing, but like friends of the program, Hall of Fame bets, like you can look at a certain player in there and it'll tell you their history against the pitcher and then history against that bullpen based on the last year, which is, I think, pretty vital. And obviously on our site on handygraphs.com, you can see the bullpen, you can see the depth chart. That stuff is pretty critical. And I think the main point that's really important that comes out of what you're saying is that bullpens don't do well when the starters are erratic and their usage is all over the place. And that is something that is key to remember with this. Phillies bullpen is going to be fine. Arms can always be bought. It's about usage with a bullpen. It's about managing a group of guys, usually about 4 high leverage guys and 3 to 4, hey, we need you because we got to mop up guys, and managing them for 162 games and managing their workload. A lot of times you get to a point in the season where they're terrible. And that happens during the playoffs. That happened with the Phillies last year. 2 years ago, we saw the opposite with the Diamondbacks, where they had a terrible bullpen up until they made a really good NLCS run because their bullpen just stuck it to everybody. So I'm not worried about this. I mean, do you have a closing thought on this one? I mean, I'm a little biased because I'm a Phillies fan, but closing thought on this one. And we'll, I know we want to touch upon a couple futures things, and we'll bring Dane in and we'll talk to him a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, and by the way, I don't think Dane will want to talk about his bullpen in particular, Devin Williams, and how that start of the season has gone for.
That's like the anti-dad move, because since Devin Williams had a kid, he's been terrible.
Yeah. And well, maybe when your organization decides to not pitch you at all during spring training, and then you're surprised that, hey, your fastball may not be quite up to speed when you start the season because you haven't actually pitched. That might be a problem. But I guess the put a pin on it in terms of bullpen. Just make sure that you are looking at the guys who are available also for that given night. Like if you've got some guys, again, a perfect example like the Phillies, right? Alvarado has been great for them. He's not going to go every single night. He's going to also be half the reason why that Sierra might be, I think it's like 3.77 right now. So if he's not going for a night, factor that in a little bit more into some of your caps. And that's why I think that's kind of going maybe that next level to look at a little bit more of, who's actually available. And is this going to, give you a little bit of a boost, especially on a batter prop? But yeah, I think this is probably a good time for us to move in before we bring in Dane to talk a little bit about.
I was going to call
futures.
Why don't we? Let's bring in Dane because Dane gets to talk. Since Dane gets to talk about the Yankees, it can come back to what we're going to talk about for the futures thing. This is the Audible Live.
We've got a future that we can bring in Dane for anyways.
Yeah. Dane, what's going on, buddy?
What's going on, guys? How you doing? Can you hear me?
We can totally hear you. Totally hear you.
What's going on? Excited to be
here,
man.
Welcome to our show. Thanks for coming through, man. So Dane is with FTN Fantasy. Dane also spits hot fire, a la Dylon. And if you get him to do it, he may have slowed down a little bit in his now dad years, but he can drop some rhymes. He's also a Syracuse guy, so I'm pretty biased with him. But Dane, we just want to jump right into it. Okay, you are a Yankees fan, an actual Yankees fan, not one of those guys who bought a starter jacket and says, "Hey, this is my favorite team." But our producer Spencer is like, "We want to get some bars." So, as a Yankees fan, betting this team, is there a player that you've seen that is underrated or a market with this team? For me personally, Ben Rice home runs, specifically on DraftKings, have been awesome for me this season. Has there been a market or a betting angle that you've taken on this Yankees team that you've noticed early in the season, but things that you've seen with them?
I've been on the Rodon strikeouts every time out, and that has been pretty good. I think he's 4-1 in that. I've also been on Max Fried, not in the strikeouts, but I think he's been pitching really well, and I will go with the opponent's team total under. When Fried is on the hill, that has been good for me. And I mean, I think you guys were going to talk a little bit about Aaron Judge, right? So this idea, you know how you could always get the 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. That is that's heavily juiced. But if he's going to go like 15-4 on that bet, it's still okay, right? And I think to your point, Adam, you were talking about this, like there's still a way to actually think that he's almost under-respected, right? So sometimes I go not with the 1.5, which is the, kind of the default with hits, runs, RBIs, but I'll go 2.5, because if he gets the 2-run shot, it's a wrap, So those are some of the things I've been doing with the Yankees. And to be quite honest, and I don't know how much you guys do this, but I like a lot of live betting these days as well. I'm betting live. A lot of times what I will do is when I see starters having a good start, a game will be 1-0 going into the middle innings, right? I believe that, runs, and I think it's borne out also, the most runs are scored in the 5th, 6th inning, right? So, second, third time through the order, you could see a pitcher's pitch count going in, you're like, oh, this guy's been dominant, but he's at 73 pitches at 4 1/3 innings, that kind of thing. And those are the things I will look for. They will obviously bring the total down, and I will hop over a live 4.5 total, a live 5.5 total, especially if I think I have those indicators, right? A starting pitcher doing really well, but it is their third time through the lineup. They get to about 70, 80 pitches, and that has been relatively fruitful. I know you guys have been talking about bullpen availability, things of that nature, right? And so that's another thing you look at there. So the live betting on the totals is something that I do a lot, but specifically with the Yankees, I've been riding with Rodon strikeouts and Judge on the like over 2.5 runs, hits, and ribbies.
Rodon's been great. Rodon, I've made more money.
I was going to say Dane.
He's good. It's just, well, sorry.
It's so funny. I was just about to.
Yeah, go.
I was just about to say about Rodon, Dane, like, isn't the perfect opportunity to bet Rodon after he gives up 3 or 4 in the first or the second, and then go look at his live K prop because it's probably going to be deflated. And we all know that he's still going to get to 8 or 9, and they're going to leave him out there, even if he's given up, 4 or 5 in the first 3 innings.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think that's kind of, the live betting in baseball is so hysterical, not only on the specific props like the strikeouts, right? But they will change 10, 20 cents literally on a 2-0 count, literally with a man on first and nobody out. And if you could plant the flag there, and then they get the ground ball double play, there are a lot of opportunities live betting baseball, to be sure. The other thing I would say is, and you guys were talking about bullpen availability, bullpen arms, you get a game that's tied in the 7th, a game that's tied in the 8th. Another thing they do, in my opinion, is they undervalue the idea that multiple runs will be scored in extra innings when they put the guy on second base to start it off. I also think that when you get a tie game in the 7th and 8th, you can go over that total as well, because, a lot of times you'll wind up getting a picket fence in extra innings with both teams scoring, that kind of thing. And they can't hang the number, in certain spots. Like if it's a tie 3-3 game, they're going to hang it at 7.5, and I think that those are really good opportunities in late game situations.
Ghost runner to the rescue.
You mentioned Judge.
Everyone.
I'm glad you mentioned Judge, by the way, Dane, because Adam and I were getting into a heated discussion of agreement because we're both on the same side here. We both think that Aaron Judge is actually underrated at this point. I think Aaron Judge is actually by the way, I'm saying this all as somebody who is very happy, very pleased as a Mets fan to be getting Mr. Juan Soto over there in Queens. But I think Judge is legit the greatest hitter I've maybe ever seen in my lifetime. I mean, the guy has a 53.4 WAR since 2000, which is, 30 points or whatever behind Trout. But he's also had 1/3, or not Trout, sorry, Pujols, 1/3 of the plate appearances for that. The guy literally leads all of baseball since 2000 in slugging percentage. You know who the man is ahead of him? Somebody who,
Bonds?
a bunch of steroids. Bonds. Yeah, that's it. Judge is your leader in slugging since 2000. So, I mean, I'm sure you probably have talked about this before, but give us your feeling on Judge. Like, how do you appreciate him as a Yankee fan watching him?
I think that's it. You just have to appreciate it, right? You have to absolutely appreciate it because, listen, if he's healthy, there is nobody else who in March, you talk about the projections out there, there's nobody else who's actually projected to go for 50 bombs in the league outside of Judge. Like, you just don't see that much anymore, right? And he's underappreciated in things like base running and things like his defense, right? And I think that's an important piece as well. And I mean, if he's healthy, he's going to be the MVP. If he's healthy, he's going to lead the league in home runs. The only thing, and it's interesting that you mentioned Trout, right? As a Yankee fan, I could talk about Mickey Mantle, who then messed up his ankle in a sprinkler system in center field, and was never kind of the same. And so, yes, but he's still kind of early in his career. And that's the funny part about it, if you want to know the truth, right? Like, he still has a ways to go. I looked recently, if you're a Mets fan there, Jimmy, I have a long-going text with a bunch of my big friends about guys who can get to 500 career home runs. And the Alonso name came up. Could he actually get there? And so we're looking at the whole list, looking at like who still has a chance or not. People that are close, I think it's like Machado has a chance, and some others. But Judge, it's a fait accompli. Like, as long as he doesn't have something like Mike Trout. And that's the thing. We would have been saying the same thing about Mike Trout early on in his career. Right. And then weird things happen to guys. So I'm just going to appreciate it right now. I do believe he is the captain. I do believe he's captain material. I do he's also in the mold of Derek Jeter, never says a bad thing. You know what I mean? Never in trouble, that kind of thing. So I am just quite frankly appreciating it right now. And I will say this also, when you talk about Juan Soto, the idea is even Soto came out the other day here in the New York area. It's in all the back pages. And Soto was like, yeah, it's a little different not having the best hitter in baseball hit behind you, right? So even Soto kind of
funny how that works.
Do for a lineup. But absolutely, I'm just appreciating it. I think he is the best hitter I have ever seen. And yes, there were guys like Bonds. I think that's a whole separate category, right? There were times when Pujols was so locked in. I'll give you an under the radar one in terms of a guy that I saw hit a lot that I was not a fan of because he was a Boston Red Sox. And that was Manny Ramirez. Manny Ramirez was like a savant when it came to hitting. Manny Ramirez would actually look bad on purpose in his first at bat against, say, a slider, because he knew then later in the game or in the ALCS 3 months later, he would get that same pitch and he would go yard off of it. And this coming from a Puerto Rican from the Bronx who doesn't really love Dominicans from Washington Heights, doesn't really love Red Sox, right? Doesn't really love the steroid era guys. But some of the things that Manny was able to do as a pure hitter, some people think he's just, Manny being Manny and so silly and all that. Dude was a savant in the box.
If you guys are just joining us, we got a really good conversation going with Dane Martinez from FTN Fantasy. He knows all sports, but we're talking some baseball right now. I remember watching the second go round of Manny with the Dodgers when that second thing was going around against the Phillies. But yeah, now that I think about it, he did that to a couple guys within the Phillies on the NLCS. The last point I'm going to make on Judge is that I feel like everybody forget you started bringing it up. I think everybody forgets how many doubles Judge can hit and how there has never been a question on his Judge could steal 15 stolen bases.
He's not slow. He's not slow.
This is not Ryan Howard. This is not 180 Ks and a 234 average. I think that what did you say his ISO? CJ and I were talking about this. His ISO is 800 or something absurd right now. And it's just, but that's consistent. And I think that everybody's so into Ohtani all the time and into whoever the next big thing is that people forget that right in front of you is actually arguably the best hitter in baseball and best hitter in certainly the last decade.
If he's healthy, because literally, I mean, look at just the last 3 years, literally, if he's healthy, the dude is averaging 59 home runs a season and seasons that he's healthy. It's ridiculous.
So you have your son Jackson, who is probably now old enough to watch some baseball with you. As Nora's an absolute mush. Jake gets lucky and stuff. Nora comes in and says, "Daddy, the team you like," and immediately somebody scores against the Phillies or the Eagles. Has Jackson taken to one of the is he a mush? Is he your luck charm? Has he has he gotten into watching some of the games? Has he gone to a game? We lasted 1 inning at a Red Sox game. So
Jackson, for those of you who don't know, he is 2.5. He will turn 3 in August. We have gone to 1 Yankees game each year so far. Okay.
Oh, nice.
He is 2-0.
All right. We got to go to the next Jackson game.
Nice. So that's a good thing. Me and his mom, we had to discuss, do we do the airplane headphones or not? And we decided to not. Okay, and he like took it all. He definitely started crying after someone hit a home run and it got loud. But I will say this: go back, literally. I will never forget this. The night he was born. Okay, literally, we are in the hospital, right? Like, he was born in like 4 or 5 in the afternoon. We're in the hospital. Go check the box score for the Yankees against the Tampa Bay Rays on August 17th, 2022. The Yankees are down 4-0. Okay. They score 4 runs in the 9th to tie it up. Then Tampa scores 3 in the top of the 10th to go up 7-4, only to have the Yankees score 4 in the bottom of the 10th to win it on a walk-off Josh Donaldson, of all guys, grand slam. And I'm literally like, with a 4-hour-old son. Okay, like we literally like just got into the room. My wife is asleep. He's sleeping. We're like, what do we do? I don't know. And I'm like going bonkers because this Yankee game is going on. And ever since then, he has been a good luck charm. He has been really good. We have done well watching it together. He likes all sports. He can say touchdown. He'll say goal. He'll say home run. And I will say this, as a Yankees fan, I told my wife I was going to do this. But when it was clear that they were going to win Game 5, I guess it was, against Cleveland in the ALCS last year, I woke his ass up. And I was like, yo, you are watching this last out with me, okay? Because it's been the first time since, 2009, I believe, right? And I started getting emotional. I was like, I am watching this with my son, regardless of what it is. So I remember doing that. I remember the night he was born, and he has been good so far. And on my radio show over on Sirius XM, we made him pick all the NFL playoff games last year against the spread. Dude went 8-5. I would literally just be like, do you want the Packers or the Eagles, right? And he would just, the Eagles, whatever. And he would just unfiltered, me not prompting him at all. But I later found out.
No DVOA stats. He's just in. He knows it. Yeah,
he just the phone up and be like, yo, do you want the Chiefs or the Texans? Whoever, right? But I later found out that he has a heavy lean towards any animals. So if it's an animal versus non-animal, he's picking the animal.
That's solid. So Dane, I mean,
Dane, hopefully just please tell me you didn't wake him up during game 1 of the World Series last year when it went.
No, I didn't.
That's I was worried it was going
Game 5 either, if you want to know the truth, right? I said I would do it again if need be, but Game 1 was a problem. Game 5 was a problem, and I will say this: in Game 5, when it all completely unraveled, I thought Cole was going to throw a no-hitter for a little while. Cole was absolutely lighting it up. And then what did Fox do? They put Don Larson on screen, and they had him as the thing right before they came back from the commercial break. That was a mush, Adam. They did it right before the 5th inning, right before the Dodgers and the errors and the base running and all that nonsense. I blame Joe Buck.
The AV mush. Dane, tell everybody where they can find you. Also, excellent dad stories, and really appreciate you coming by on this. Where can folks find you so they can hear you regularly?
Yeah, sure. So over on Twitter or X, whatever, I'm at Spittin' Speeds. Like I said, I'm the host of the FTN Fantasy Show on Sirius XM. That's the fantasy channel number 87. We are on 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. You can check us out there. I also have an independent YouTube channel that's doing pretty well called Jets Latest, where you get the latest on, the Jets, Jets. I'm a big-time Jets fan, have been for my entire life. My grandparents had season tickets at Shea Stadium, for goodness sakes, right?
Oh, wow.
We're doing everything with the new regime, Aaron Glenn, Darren Moji, getting ready for the draft. So if you're a Jets fan, definitely check that out, Jets Latest over on YouTube. But generally on Sirius XM, 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern. You can hear me on channel 87 on Sirius. And, hit me up on Twitter. I love engaging with you guys.
The last thing before you leave, who are the Jets drafting on Thursday?
They are number 7 overall. They are, in my opinion, going to be taking the offensive lineman, a tackle, Armand Membu out of Missouri. A lot of people think it's going to be Tyler Warren out of Penn State. No. Last year, people thought it was going to be Brock Bowers, a tight end. No. They went offensive line. I think this is a deep tight end draft. I think they're going to go tight end in the 2nd or 3rd round. I think it's going to be Membu out of Missouri at number 7 overall. And the books would agree with me. They have now moved from plus 170 all the way down to minus 130 for the Jets to take an old lineman with their first pick.
There you go. You heard it. All right, Dane, thanks for coming by, man.
Absolutely, guys. Anytime. Glad to be with you.
Yep. Dude, what a good dad story. Like my story when Nora was born, Nora was born in the middle of a fantasy football draft. Like in the sixth round. In the sixth round, I was like, I was on it and I said, guys, hold on. My wife says her water broke. I got to go downstairs and see what's happening. And I went down and I was like, oh, she's serious about this. And this is at like 10 p.m. on a Wednesday. And so my draft had to be auto drafted the rest of the time. And my team was terrible. But the whole league now knows like Nora was a big deal on that. I don't have anything. And I don't have anything as cool as him being, they couldn't even sit through the game, the first 2 innings. So I don't know. Have you gone to games with your kids yet or no? Like have you taken them to like a major game or any minor league games? CJ? CJ may be frozen. If CJ is frozen, he might be. Oh, there he is. You were frozen for a second. I was like, whoa, what happened?
Yeah, I don't know. My Wi-Fi's been a little spotty.
That's okay.
Here,
you sound good.
We took Elena to her first Mets game last Father's Day, whenever they were playing the Padres, and she loved it. She's 1-0 right now. So again, 100% ROI bringing my kid to a Mets game at this point. But yeah, no, I mean, you know what? I think there's also, as a dad, I think there's a little bit of a misconception that like bringing a 1 or a 2-year-old to a baseball game is maybe irresponsible. They're not going to enjoy it. You're going just for yourself. And I totally disagree, because she had probably just as good a time I did. She got to eat pizza, ice cream, whatever she wanted the whole game. They're playing music a lot of the time in between, innings. They have all the different types of like giveaways and whatnot. So yeah, if you're a little kid, baseball games are great, and you get to be outside for 3-4 plus hours. So I'm a big proponent of bringing your kids, even if they're really small, to baseball games.
I didn't make it because they were too small at the last one, but we're going to try to go to Woo Sox games this summer. All right. We are, so what we're going to do is we're going to do a quick futures check and a quick discussion there. And then we'll get out of here. The market I want to talk about is actually, because we were talking about Aaron Judge, I want to talk a little bit about home run leader. And Tyler Soderstrom, I assume, is still in the lead as the most home runs right now in the majors. Let me pull this. I will pull it up so I can have it. I can have it live for me. But it is in fact. Actually, I'm sorry. It's Cal Raleigh right now. They're
tied. The big dumper.
They're tied. The big dumper. The big dumper is tied. They have 9. Trout with 8. Tatis with 8. Judge with 7. I'm going to ask you, are there guys that are either on this short list that you're thinking on that it's early, knowing it's early, and numbers and guys that you're kind of looking at? What are you kind of thinking and how you're attacking this home run market? Knowing we have in pocket, I think we have Jake Berger. I think that was the only thing that we went with.
That hasn't looked too.
Neither of those guys have worked out for us. At least we didn't go big. Oh, we have Devers, Jake Berger, and Matt Olson. So it's early. It's early. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Is there somebody who you're kind of looking at in this market that you think might be valuable?
So I just want to also call out, by the way, that you've got Mr. James Wood, who is tied for 3rd in home runs right now. So we'll bring him back up on this show frequently, because he's been absolutely mashing. Can I give you one that I actually say don't go bet this? Because I know you've got, I think, 2 guys in particular you really want to talk about for home run leader. We can.
It's really now one, but because during the break I was like, I think I like this one instead. But yeah, keep going.
So be that as it may, here's one guy that I would not be betting, which is Mike Trout. So I feel like this is turning into a little bit of a hate on Mike Trout podcast, because I also mentioned Mike Trout's name in the Judge conversation as well. Look, Mike Trout is great. I'm happy to see Mike Trout playing well and playing healthy, but that's the biggest thing with Mike Trout, is that he hasn't played a full season. 159 was the most games he's played, and that was back in 2016. So right now, his price for home run leader is 18-1. Yes, if you go to Baseball Savant, all that stuff is going to check out. If you're going to do all the advanced research on him, he is, what is he? I think 7th in launch angle, 8th in barrel, or launch angle sweet spot, 8th in barrel. Expected WOBA is super high. I think it's like 426. So if you're looking at the advanced stuff, you go, oh, I think he's undervalued. He's actually top 10 in a lot of these categories that matter. Just remember, Mike Trout's biggest thing is that he's never available for a full season. And consider that while the Angels have had a nice start, this is a team that will be definitely one of the first that will sell at the deadline. And that this happens with him every year. They will shut him down if that happens. And so don't take 18-1, just like we told you, don't take 35-1 on Spencer Strider for K's leader. That was poison. And if you did take it, then you've already taken your poison because he's already on the IL. And I think Trout is kind of the same way. So that's got someone, Adam, I would say don't go bet. Now you tell me someone who I think we should bet.
So originally I was going to come here and I was going to tell you I like Teoscar Hernandez at 100-1, and he's been great to us. He won us the home run derby last year. We were on T.O. Island last year. By the way, we will cap that again this summer perfectly like we did last year. But I'm going to go to a guy that you have some thoughts on too. I think Junior Caminero at 60-1 has some pretty good value. He has high percent. Look, he was MVP of the Dominican League, and he was led the league in home runs. He was crushing the ball all off season. So he came into spring and the season kind of already with 100 plate appearances under him, and he just kind of was already warm. He's playing in a really good park for this too, but he's upper percentile and everything. I know there's some things that you noticed about him. Like, tell me what you're thinking about with Junior Caminero, who's switched positions, who has done everything that is needed from him on this Rays team, and about home run leader.
So he leads the league in bat speed, which, again, nerding out here, but just note that if you swing the bat really fast, that usually leads to more power. Now, there's another piece of this, whereas your swing length, and the longer your swing is, then the more that you tend to be kind of swinging at missing pitches. Giancarlo Stanton was famous for this when they first released this last year, but it is an important metric that the fact that he swings the bat basically more powerful or faster than any other batter in the league.
It's 100%. I've never seen 100%, the 100th percentile. He's the fastest.
Yes. So he is the best. He's also 94th in exit velocity and 94th percentile, 92nd percentile for hard hits. And last point I'll make about Junior Caminero is that we talked about this on the last pod. He plays in arguably the most home run friendly park in all of baseball. George Steinbrenner Field in Tampa. More home runs have been hit there than any other park so far this season. So you've got a lot of, I think, underlying stuff with him. Like you said, came into the season in great form, and you're playing in a super friendly ballpark for home runs that is going to continue to stay very, very hot, basically all season.
I love it. It's 60-1. I think it's something that's worth a sprinkle on there. Just it's the parks that he's going to visit are going to be much more worth it. We are now out of time, so we'd like to do our final thing that we do here on Dad's Bet Baseball, and that is kind of talk about some dad moves of the week. Going to bring in Spencer. There is a dad move or advice. I'm going to kick this off because I had a really good one that almost came together today. So today is Patriot Day in Massachusetts. Everybody is off. They do the Boston Marathon. They have a Red Sox game at 11 a.m. I asked my wife, hey, can I go to this game? She said, yeah, you should totally go. Pause. It's her first day back from sabbatical, and we have 2 kids, and both those kids were not in daycare today. If your wife tells you, yeah, you should totally go during the week if your wife is telling you that something sounds like a great idea and part of you is hesitant, it's a trap. It is a trap. If I had said yes, the kids ended up being absolutely crazy today, bonkers. I couldn't even listen to what is going to be the new audio. Everyone who's listening to this is going to hear our new audio intro before I will, because I didn't even get a chance to do it because the kids were so crazy. So just know that the dad move of the week is that if something is too good to be true with something that your significant other tells you, probably is, return the other direction. Think about what it would be like in her shoes to leave her alone with 2 kids all day while she's working from home. That is my Admiral Akbar senses went off. It was a trap, and it was a trap. So, CJ,
did we lose CJ again?
We might have. CJ, as soon as CJ turned to Wi-Fi beforehand, we got messed up. We got lagged.
Yeah,
fine.
it was like working.
Spencer, what do you? We'll go Spencer. Spencer, what do you got?
So my only advice is make sure you're nice to your neighbors. Like I just met my neighbor for the first time in like 6 months, even though I've seen him walk around the yard and everything. We just haven't been in the same, I guess, place and time in each other's backyards. But just be nice to your neighbors. Like you never know. Like they could. He like hooked up my friend with a job, like indirectly. So just I don't know. Be nice to your neighbors and look out for your neighbors. That's my advice for the week.
There you go. More
It's always good.
CJ?
That's great life advice, Spencer. Mine will be quick because I'm afraid I'm going to lose. Here's another dad tip, by the way: get better internet. That's one. But I think my one would just be YouTube TV. If you haven't cut the cord, get YouTube TV. You can record all your wife's shows. It's super easy. You'll look cool because you just literally go and save and add to your library. And as each new series comes
That's
on,
also
she's
true.
like, "Oh, whoa! You already recorded this for me? Wow, how nice of you!" So YouTube TV, it's a great asset to have or tool in the toolbox as a dad.
Now that you have YouTube TV, you will know that every 3 months they will send you an email saying they basically gaslight one of their other partners and they say we tried to do a
Like
deal with
CBS?
NBC Sports and
Yeah.
they said no.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious. YouTube TV gaslights everybody. They're just like, it wasn't us, it was them. And every time. And then they come to then at 2 a.m.
And by the way, your monthly bill just went up $10 a month, but
Yeah,
we're really
exactly.
sorry about it.
We're really sorry. All right. So this was a pretty loaded show. We had a good time. We are going to be back on Thursday, Friday, one of those 2 days. And then next week we'll have one show because I'm going to Detroit the weekend. Don't ask me why. But for CJ, who is at Dad's That Bet, for Spencer at Spencer_Ray. That's Ray RAY. Not Ray, R-E-Y, the king, even though he is the king. I'm Adam Rosenberg at Hey Rosenberg. You are listening or watching Dad's Bet Baseball at Dad's Bet Baseball on Spotify, on the X, on the Twitters, on the YouTubes. If we can find an intern, we'll make a TikTok, but we're the same thing across all of it. We're on all those channels. Podbean, check us out. Give us 5-star reviews. And we have started doing enough of these that you can let us know what you want to hear about. We're trying to pick out different markets, things that we can talk about with you guys, guests that you want to have on here. So thanks everybody for coming. Good luck with bets. Good luck with your kids if you got them. So